Hello and welcome to my channel. The card I'm going to talk about today, the Five of Pentacles, is actually one of my favourite tarot cards, which is probably a strange thing to say as it's normally associated with poverty, illness and general kind of negative feelings of loss and unhappiness. But I think obviously there's more to the card than that, which I'll explain in a minute. But also I think I tend to think of tarot as a way for me to get in touch with my unconscious rather than something that is going to predict some calamitous event. I think that our unconscious sometimes knows something that our conscious mind has been shutting out or denying. So I suppose it could be called fortune telling in that sense. But it's very much, I think about more, I see the tarot as holding a mirror up to what is going on. And maybe that is below the surface and a way for me to access that. A little bit like dreams in that sense. And the Five of Pentacles is very much probably about my script growing up and something that I've held on to. So when I draw this card, I start thinking, are things as bad as I think? Am I really the outsider in this situation, or am I replaying again my old script? And I'll just put this card to one side and then just get this one out as well. I think this is a card to me anyway. This is a card about sort of childhood wounds and confusion and stuff. So for me, I am the youngest of a big family. There's about 8 years gap between me and my nearest sibling, and quite a lot of trauma had already happened in my family before I was born. So I feel that I was surrounded by all these kind of teenagers and, you know, people who were almost adults, some of them. And I felt that, how do I say this? That there's a lot that I was taking in, probably on a pre-verbal level, that I couldn't explain, and that wasn't ever fully explained to me because I was too young. And so I think that's where that feeling of feeling powerless, feeling that other people were in charge of my life and what was happening, which is the state of childhood, isn't it, in some senses, and thinking there was more going on behind the surface of what people were saying, and feeling confused and trying to work that out. And I realised saying that because I'm autistic as well, that I have often felt, or perhaps always felt, you know, in my life, that how I'm thinking is out of sync with other people, and so trying to negotiate that as well. And this lovely little card is from the Next World Tarot. In the guidebook, she says that this little girl has just lost her home, and so that's why she's sitting on the boxes, and she's kind of looking out, I suppose, at other people who have got homes, who aren't displaced in the same way, very aware of her lack and her loss, and trying to kind of make sense of it all, I suppose. And any kind of trauma or poverty or anything often makes us feel like we can feel like shunned, can't we? That, you know, or other people don't understand us or whatever. And there's that isolation that often comes with kind of traumatic events. So this is kind of the energy I get kind of from this card. It is these two people. Are they going to go into the church? Are they going to ask for help? And I think I've seen people say, so I'll just bring the card a bit closer, so yeah, just that it's good that these two people are together. You know, they're not completely on their own. It's not one person on their own, like in this little girl here. But then that also brings the question, sometimes when we feel like a victim, we find other people who feel like victims as well. But we can get into the position where instead of our friends or our family or whoever we turn to in those situations supporting us, even if they're being well-meaning, it can get to the point where their advice or their support or help is actually holding us back. So it can be that we almost, I don't know, that we remain in that place longer because of the friendships that we've formed through that distress and that trauma. I'll just show you the Osho card. So this is from Osho Zen. It's a lovely one. It's, you know, it's called The Outsider. And I think even when we're adults, whenever we feel like the outsider for me, it's usually in some sort of social situation, we feel like that little child looking in, confused, probably lost for words, not knowing quite what to do. And Osho, I mean, I've read quite a lot of Osho now, and he's a controversial character. But I think in typical Osho way, he kind of says, celebrate being an outsider, being outside society, because society is a lot of society. And I think surely we're realising this more and more now, especially with climate change and everything, that society is sick, is disordered, is toxic, is full of prejudice and misguided views, and our society isn't a healthy one. And by being on the outside, we have that perspective, but also when we feel disconnected from the external world, it encourages us to connect internally to our consciousness. So from a spiritual perspective, which is interesting, isn't it? From a spiritual perspective, actually being outside can be a positive thing, and it connects us more to spirit, and maybe connects us, we realise, don't we, in our hardship what really matters. And I love this card. This is beautiful. This is from Mary L. Shows Adam, and he's pointing to his heart. This is where the richness lies, is inside him. And rather than, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we're in situations like this poor little girl here, where we need assistance, we need help. And, you know, people need food and water and homes. They need that basic provision. But we also do reach the point when we have those things where we can look more within to our internal support and our internal strength. So I'll show you the card that I created for this. Might have to zoom out a little bit. Right. So I really like this image. This is from the John Carter Bush book again. I'm not sure who this whose shoulders she's on. I'm not sure whether it's another brother, her other brother, or band member or something. Let me know if you do know. She's standing on his shoulder. So this is the idea. I liked the idea of, are the people we're outside the church with, are they going to be our support? Are they helping us? Or are they actually holding us back? And here is a positive example of a friend or a family member giving us that kind of boost, that being our ladder, so we can find, we can grow, and we can get out of that situation. So this is empowerment. This is a symbol of empowerment to me. And the picture in the background, so this obviously is very much influenced by that Rider-Waite with stained glass. This stained glass here is from Coventry Cathedral. I nearly chose a Chagall stained glass, but this was a photo that I'd taken myself when I visited Coventry Cathedral, and there was a picture of my daughter looking up at the stained glass, so it felt like it had a personal connection for me. But also, I don't know if you know the story of Coventry Cathedral. It was heavily bombed in the Second World War, and then they built this beautiful new cathedral in the 1950s with this amazing stained glass. So it's a symbol of kind of hope from that really low point. And the lyrics I chose were "Keep looking up for the ladder," and I liked the idea of this being a human ladder. So I mean, the ladder can be something comes from within, like that Marielle card, or it can be another person. So a ladder can represent lots of different things. And I particularly like it when I choose a lyric which I think could almost function like an oracle card. So, you know, I could pull this card, keep looking up for the ladder, and then that gives me something to reflect on. So to think, right, what am I not seeing in this situation? I'm feeling trapped, maybe. I'm feeling unsupported. I'm feeling, you know, in despair. But there is probably some sort of ladder there that I can look to, something, whether it's within or from someone else, which is positive, which will help me in this situation. The song is Top of the City, which is from the Red Shoes album. I couldn't find anything from Kate Bush herself talking about this song. I think let me just read, I'll just read the chorus to you, I think. So I like it I like the line, of course, she seems to be talking to someone, I don't know if it's a lover or a friend or a family member, and they are in this city and they're feeling alone and lost. And I love the line, "and put me up on the angel's shoulders," which is again about getting to the top of the city, kind of, and getting that perspective. So sometimes, I think what I wanted to say is sometimes being or choosing to be an outsider or getting that perspective can be useful. So we can be in a social situation and we can just feel like we're outside, we're excluded, we feel sad, we're that little child again, on the outside of a social circle, or, you know, feeling that the gate is shut. But sometimes what we need to do is to actually just take a step back. So Top of the City seems to me about getting that kind of, which actually she sort of explores in Ariel as well, isn't it? Getting that broader perspective, going up, looking over the city, and then suddenly when you look at the city from that perspective, from that height, and where everyone looks so small and vulnerable, don't they? And you do kind of feel like you're closer to heaven or God up there sometimes at that height. And it enables you to get that mental space. You're away from the crowds and you can think and you can get a perspective on what you need. So I think that's also about the keep looking up for the ladder as well. Not just that a ladder as an escape, but also a ladder as a way to get nearer to heaven, if you like, to get a different perspective on things. So that is my take on the Five of Pentacles. As always, do comment, let me know if there is another song you can think of for this card. I think finally what I was going to say is, or just one question to pose, is Kate Bush herself an outsider? Because you could say she was, or she arrived, you know, people didn't quite know how to take her. Perhaps some people don't now, but, you know, she was highly original, highly her own person. But she had those supportive people around her, I think, who celebrated what made her different rather than judging it. It could have so easily been, if she hadn't had that support or those people around her, she could have easily kind of just been inhibited and not expressed herself. And I think what makes Kate Bush so compelling as an artist is her authenticity. And it's something that I know that I kind of long for when I see her, that I think I long for in myself, that kind of embracing my own weirdness, if you like, my own outsider status. So I suppose what I wanted to finally say is that what happens when, rather than thinking of the outsider as this negative thing, what happens when we flip it and we celebrate being an outsider? So let me know what you think, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.